Hey everyone, it's me, Steven Z, and SoCal Gula here with the Health Over Everything podcast. Thank you for joining. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Thank you for coming on air, and let's get it started, Aaron.
Let's go. So today we're going to talk about, multiple different subjects and whatever kind of comes to our mind. And the first thing is, let's start it with, working out. Did you work out today?
Not yet. I usually work out when I get home, but we switched it up a little bit and decided to do the podcast first. So I will work out after.
So you still got to get your pump in.
I definitely do. So I'll
So
get it in by around 3 p.m. So and then I don't have to pick up my son until 4:30. So I'll be good.
Oh, okay. So what do you got on the agenda today for the workout?
I usually kind of do similar exercises. I either do like a dead snatch or dead snatch or a clean or in a thruster and a rowing type of exercise, so like a pull, a push, and then like a swing. And I'll kind of vary which ones I do and the orders that I do them. Sometimes I'll throw in a different exercise that I wouldn't normally do, and I just try to switch it up every day, kind of.
So weights, pretty much like weights.
Yeah, I've been doing strictly a kettlebell routine, so not your traditional like bench press and all that. It's all been kettlebells. I've done the workouts with the weights, like the bench. You're hitting your big threes, your squats, your bench press, your shoulder presses. But I'm a little bit older, and I wanted to switch it up a little bit, see what kind of results I could get doing something different.
So what about the cardio? Because that's what I hit today. I ran 2 miles today in about 22 minutes, about 11 minutes average. I got the heart beating up to 160. Got to get that. Like, one of my main concerns, I'm trying to, keep on some muscles. I'm actually seeing like a little bit of muscle growth, but I'm also, worried about my cardiovascular health. So do you do cardio? When's the last time you did cardio?
Oh, it's been a little bit, maybe a month and a half since I've done
Why
cardio.
not, bro?
Not gonna lie, I do not like cardio. I
A lot of
do
people say
not
you
like
don't
it.
like a lot of weights. Like weights still get your like heartbeat up, right? Though, like you get your
Yeah,
heartbeat up.
that's kind of what I was reading too about the kettlebell routine is since you do have your breaks in between, but to get through the different exercises, I don't take any breaks in between. So it's like, I'm huffing and puffing by the time I get to the end. And it's probably somewhat of a cardio workout. Probably not as much as like obviously like a 30-minute cardio session is gonna do. But
So what do
I
you
oh
register? Do you track your heartbeat? Like what your heartbeat
no,
is? No.
no,
Why not?
I don't know. Just never been
You
too
should.
concerned with it.
Well, like you could see, like the higher your heart rate is, it's like the harder you're working out, right? So it's like, oh man, it's like my body's
Well, I feel
going.
like I could feel it.
Yeah, no, you definitely could feel it because I look at my heartbeat a lot because like we said before, my dad passed away from heart disease, a heart attack, and so that's something that's always on my mind. And so I'm always like, ever since then, I've just been looking at my Fitbit, and I've kind of like could tell totally about how my heart is doing now. So it's like I could totally tell, like I'm chilling and I'll be like, oh, my heartbeat's probably around 90 right now, or oh, it's around 70. And when I'm running, I'm like, okay, it has to be around 120. I could kind of like just feel what it is now because I've just been tracking it for so much.
Yeah. I don't know. For me too, I obsess over everything. So I probably will start getting obsessed with those numbers. Just like the how you were tracking your sleep. I started tracking my sleep for like a couple of days, and then I'm starting to become obsessed with over this. And I'm like, the watch is telling me I didn't get good sleep, but would I feel normal if I didn't know that? If I didn't have that information, how would I feel? And I feel like I kind of get in my head. I'm like, I probably would be fine if the watch wasn't telling me I should be tired or my sleep wasn't as good.
Yeah.
So I kind
So
of
it's like a
stopped tracking my
psychological
sleep.
fuck, in your head. You're
Yeah,
psychologically
exactly,
fucking yourself.
exactly.
And that's kind of like what we wanted to touch on today, psychological mind fucks. Like your mind is just like one of the craziest things. And it's like, I'm sure everyone out there can relate, just their mind wandering or worrying or just going into different places. Like one moment you're chilling and next moment you're anxiety or having a panic attack or just flipping out or thinking about some weird things. And it's like, well, how did my mind get there? Like, why does the mind do that? And then then it affects your body because then you can feel your heart beating different and everything. And it's like, wow, like this all started from just some random thought out of nowhere. Where did this thought come from? You know, it could be even from just a past thought that's way in your head somewhere. Just insane.
Yeah, it's funny too how you tend to get carried away with your thoughts too. You know, you could be trying to focus on something, and then you'll notice like your thoughts just all of a sudden you're wondering about something. And I think it's kind of human nature to focus on all the bad things, and those are the at least personally for me, those thoughts that I tend to get carried away with, like, oh man, I should be doing this. Why am I not doing that? And eventually I have to calm myself down and be like, hey, like right now in this present moment, like what's around me? Like nothing. I'm chilling in a room by myself. Everything's good. And you just gotta, or at least for me, I try to focus on enjoying the present moment as much as I can and not
Back
get
to the
too
present.
distracted with the past, not too distracted with the future, and try to be as present as I can be. It's one of those things easier said than done, but it's a
Yeah.
practice.
I seen a meme that said something about that just like yesterday. I think it's like, he's like, what if, what's going to happen in the future or something like that? And he's like, and then it was like two cartoon figures. And the one's like, come back to me in the present, come to the present. And I was like, what does that mean? What does like come back to the present even mean? Like, just like, okay, I'm here in the present, but presently I'm thinking about the future. Like, what does that mean? Like the present.
The present, just what is happening in your like immediate space. Like obviously, like I said, I'm in my room by myself. I could be focusing on, whatever's in my immediate surroundings, a fan, a book. But I think it's more of like feeling yourself, the present of yourself, because I think it's just very easy to think about something you got to do in the future, or some sort of regret that you wish you could change in the past, and just have your whole focus be either in the past or in the future. When you have this, and those, thinking about those two tend to stress you out. But if you could learn how to be present and just almost learn how to, or train yourself to be happy with how it is right now, just in the present, focus on your breath, everything's peaceful. It's all good. You don't have to worry about something that may or may not happen in the future. And everything in the past has already happened. So no need to worry about that. Learn from it and then let it go.
You know,
But
it's
don't
like
let
so
it
crazy
don't
because
let it dictate your whole life.
yes. So it's like, okay, like I'm thinking like, something I worry about a lot is, like I said, my heart disease, not my heart disease, but heart disease, or like um uh having a heart attack, or I do have high blood pressure. And just like thinking about that, like, will flip me out even today. Like I was telling you earlier today, oh man, it's like I'm just hanging out, chilling, just get off work, and all of a sudden my thoughts just start going. And I'm like, oh man, now I'm starting to think about my blood pressure. And I haven't checked my blood pressure in 2 weeks. I've been changing my diet, lowering my salt intake, doing really good, lost some weight. And then all of a sudden I start just thinking about a part of this book that I read or was listening to just not too long ago. And it just, since I just read it, just recently in my mind, one of the parts instantly just comes up about high blood pressure in my mind. And I start thinking about blood pressure. I'm thinking about the future, like, oh man, what's going to happen to me in the future? But right now I'm fine. Like I feel good. Like I've been eating good. I've been, getting healthier. I've been healing and all this other stuff. But I'm like thinking about the future of like, oh man, is my blood pressure going to kill me, or am I going to have a heart attack? Or next time I check it, is it going to be super high, or is it going to be high just because I'm worried, like, and then it's not really high, but so I'm not really living in that present moment of being like, what do you call it? Just fine, because I am fine, but just my mind starts wondering and starts thinking about all this stuff. And then I start like, the worst thing you could do is like I do is chat GBT in it. Like, okay, what should a blood pressure do? Like, is it bad for a 40-year-old? Is it a chronic condition? It's like, oh, that's a chronic condition. What's a chronic condition? And I start looking at that. It's something that won't go away. You got to manage it for your rest of life. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I got to manage this shit for the rest of my life. Like, and I start thinking all these things instead of just sitting there in the present. And this happened today, just not too long ago. But one thing I found out that really helps is the breathing techniques. And I have this app that some lady told me about on Instagram. I forgot what it's called, but it's a meditation app. You can find many meditation apps. And I just laid down, did a 9-minute meditation, breathing. And it just like says, focus on your breath. Don't focus on anything. Focus how your body's feeling. That's what it said at first. So I'm seeing how my body's feeling. It's very tense. My blood pressure is probably up. I don't know. I didn't check it. but my heart's beating faster. I feel it in my neck and like it's just beating like with more force. And then I just start thinking about my body, and then it just like tells you, like it guides you, and it says, think about your breath. So I just start thinking about breath, and it gets me off of what I'm thinking about. And then I start thinking about my breath and how I'm breathing, and like you start breathing deep, and it calmed me down. And like 9 minutes later, I was fine. I'm like, oh man, but like it's just insane how your mind gets you in these places just out of nowhere.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. It's funny too, because I'm trying to think about it. Yeah, I haven't had any of those thoughts kind of more recently, but I used to have them where, yeah, like we were talking about how you're basically so worried that, and all this is like in your imagination, but you could be so worried about something that it almost affects you physically
It
because you're
definitely
so
does. Yeah.
stressed out. And I think if you kind of live in a psychological stressed environment in your own head for too long, like that will create a physical disease within your body. And it's almost like you're thinking yourself into a bad disease, because stress is a killer. And it's you're the only person who could really go inside of your own mind and manage your own stress. Like, we're all different. What works for me is not maybe won't work for you. So we got to constantly be working on ourselves and figuring out what stresses us and just how to avoid it, and
Yep.
different techniques. Like you said, you did your breathing technique to kind of bring you back down to baseline. So the first moment, or the first trick, is being able to see that you're not normal right now. I'm elevated, I'm stressed out right now.
Yeah.
And the second, from then you could start to work on it, like, all right, let me do some deep breaths. And it took you 10 minutes or whatever, but
Or even if you have to talk to somebody, sometimes just
Mhm.
talking to somebody helps, like lower it down, because they could tell you, calm down, it's okay.
You're freaking yourself out, bro.
Yeah, you're freaking
Relax.
yourself out. Or like my roommate Mary, she tells me like, tell yourself something like, I am healing, I'm getting better, I'm making better choices, I'm doing good things, I am healing, I am doing better, I am making better choices, I'm eating good, I'm exercising, I'm not the person I used to be. And just keep telling yourself that until those other thoughts get in your head. So it's like kind of like you reverse mind fucking yourself, kind of like a thing, because it definitely does affect your body. Because I think
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist or anything, but I know like when you stress out, I think it's cortisone, like your hormones change when you get stressed. So if
Yeah.
you start stressing out, your actual hormones in your body, I don't know what gland it is or what organ, but it starts producing like cortisol or something, or different hormones, to tell your body that, hey, there's a stressful situation. And mainly that was from like back in the day, like you need to get away from a lion, you need to get away from a tiger or a mountain lion or something. So your body could tell you like, okay, we're stressed, let's go. And but nowadays
Yeah.
we're getting stressed over the littlest things. And that's
And
why,
now that we don't have that danger in our immediate presence, we don't have to worry about the tiger eating us, or we live pretty comfortable lives for the most part. So I think our mind now searches for all these negative or bad things for the like sake of survival. But
yeah.
since there's nothing, we start to nitpick these small little things that are basically meaningless and try to blow them up into some bigger thing than what they really are. Like,
There's no shortage of
in
things.
Meet the Kardashians, where there's all this drama about nonsense. And I never watch it, I don't know what they talk about, but probably
Yeah.
makeup and gossip between, oh, did you hear so and so said this? Like, who cares what so and so said? Or who cares what Kim Kardashian's doing? Like, if it doesn't affect me in my immediate presence, like, it probably doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and then also too, like back in the day, like like a lot of how we are nowadays is a product of thousands and thousands of years of evolution of how we used to be. Just recently, we had all this technology. So back then, like nowadays, you're scrolling through social medias, and there's so many different social media platforms. You got TikTok, Twitter, all the different ones. So now you're sitting there looking at every single problem, everybody else's problems as well. So now you're getting this negativity or this thought in your head, like, oh man, that's bad, that's bad. So you're like literally caring and worrying about other things. But back in the day, you didn't have that. You lived in a little tribe. You're really worried about just predators trying to get you and trying to eat and try to support your little tribe of people. So there's a lot less to worry about. So your stress hormones were actually used efficiently because you're just using it for immediate dangers and stuff like that. Well, nowadays you're just, the same as you're getting those dopamine hits, you're getting those stress hits too. You know, you might not like Trump or Biden or something, and you might see something that you don't like, and then you instantly get mad, and you're getting mad over something that you could have back in the day never even seen, like you wouldn't even looked at. And so now you're
Yeah.
getting your body damaged mentally and physically because of like just continuous stress on your mind. And your mind goes to your eyes, to your mind, to your body. You know, it's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why I try to limit myself on social media too much. You know what I mean? I do my scrolling here and there, but
Yeah.
eventually I think if you scroll long enough, you're going to come into contact something that, you know, you just don't like, that bothers you, that, you know, is a trigger for you. And then
No doubt.
now you're in a bad mood, when in reality, if you didn't see that little piece of social media, like, your day would have probably been good. But now you saw this one piece, and now you've gone down this rabbit hole of all this other crazy thinking that, you know, is attached to this first video that you saw. And now you're thinking about the world and how crazy it is and all this other stuff, and it's very easy to get carried away with it.
Yeah, and you're not even it doesn't even affect you usually. You know, some people might say, well, this law or this politic or something might affect me, but is it affecting you in the present, as we're saying earlier, or is it even going to affect you in a little bit? Yes, most things might affect you here and there. You might want to worry about it, but a lot of this stuff you really don't need to worry about. And like I say, get your own house in order. Like, if you're really like, the real problems you have is like, you could watch the politics and stuff if you want or whatever, but like, are you on the treadmill while watching it? Are you doing all the other stuff right? Because if you're going to be stressed out looking at stuff on the line, you better have a healthy body, because you don't want to have a double whammy and have an unhealthy body and unhealthy like obsession with social media or something on there. That's both of you. Now you're going to double whammy and you're getting even more unhealthy.
Yeah. Plus, I think too, I think exercise helps you deal with the stresses of life a little bit easier, because exercising is you know, hopefully it's a difficult process for you. You're pushing yourself and you're struggling. So when you have similar or other struggles in life, it's like, well, I already did my hard ass workout, or I'll do the cold plunge. I like doing my cold plunges in the morning. It's like, first thing, I did something that sucks. So you have to push yourself, because there's not have been one single day where I actually want to get into that water. But I do it anyways, because it's like, it's my way of telling my brain, like, no, like, what I say goes. Like, you're not the one calling the shots. Whatever I say, we do it. So by doing that and tackling it first thing in the morning, when another stress comes throughout the day, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it could be if you let it, but there's that part of your mind that can override an aspect of yourself and say, like, no, 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 it's not that big of a deal. Not as big as the deal you're making it out to be. Like, it may be something I don't like, but, you know, we could work on it. We could ignore it. We could go the other way or try to fix it. There's many other avenues to solve that problem, or go around it, or just ignore it entirely.
Yeah, man, the mind is just insane. And like, but you know, like, there's other things with the mind too, like with the exercise and all that as well. Like a lot of people are just unhealthy, especially as they get older. They, you know, their body and their metabolism doesn't keep up, and then
Mhm.
your body feels like junk, and then that feeds into your mind. So your body feels like junk, and then like your mind like feels that and knows it, and it's trying to give like some, like, your body's screaming for help, like, help me, you know, like. But that's why your mind will go into these places. It's like a survival mechanism as well. Like mine, this today, thinking about my blood pressure, even though it might be lower than last time I checked it, because I haven't checked it in 2 weeks, but I haven't been eating salt, been doing a lot better on everything, really
Mhm.
dialed my stuff in, but I'm still thinking about it. Maybe because my mind is telling me like, hey, don't give it up. Like, keep doing this. You know, it's like it knows what's going good and going bad in your body. It gives you these signals, but it's just insane, like how freaked out you can be, and just all like, I could just imagine like how many people like are stressing out every day continuously throughout the day. And like exercise, okay, if you do a 30-minute exercise, you're stressing your body and your mind and everything for a half an hour. But some people,
Mhm.
they stress for 8 hours straight at work. Your body's not supposed to stress that long. Just like when you're running from a tiger, you're running from that tiger for a little bit. You're not running from that tiger for 8 hours. So your
Yeah.
body's not meant to stress out for that long. And when it does, then your mind starts, you know, like your body starts giving symptoms. It starts getting, like you say, diseases, and gives you bad signals. And then your mind's going to see that, and then it's going to send it somewhere else where you don't want to be, a dark place. And then it even makes you even worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people too will get into these negative states of thinking without even really being aware of them. It's almost like you get to a point where you've thought bad for so long that you just consider it like, oh, well, this is just how I am. This is who I am as a person. I am an anxious person. I think about all this bad stuff, and it's who I am,
Yeah.
without ever realizing that you have the keys inside of you to, if you're willing to look and take a serious look at yourself and be honest with yourself, that there are aspects of yourself that you can change, and your perspectives are a lot of them, because their perspectives are only one way to see how the world is, but there's probably 5 or 10 other perspectives that are all valid in their own right. So you could go in there and pick perspectives that are going to benefit you. I think we kind of talked about that on the
Yeah.
last podcast a little bit. Like, pick a
Yeah.
perspective that is going to help you. Like, don't have all this negativity feeding your mind 24 hours and you're just an unhappy person looking at all the bad stuff in the world, because on the other side there's all this beautiful stuff as well that you could be focusing on too. You're just
Yeah.
not doing it.
And I like another thing about the mind. I think about what you say. I think we talked about this too, but I'll just re-say it. Like how you say, like you give control over other people. Like when you let them, when they do something and you like think about it basically in a negative way. So let's say like you always say the traffic thing, like someone cut you off in traffic and you immediately, your mind starts getting mad, but you have the choice to choose. Why am I getting mad at that? Or like, oh, they cut me off, I'm not going to get mad. So it's kind of like the identity thing as well. Like, who are you? It's just like, I just an upset person. I'm just bad at traffic. I'm just have road rage. That's just who I am. No, it's not who you are. That's who you made yourself to be. You can change that easily with the flip of a switch by just changing your mindset. Like, I am no longer that person. And I also
Yeah.
heard back in the day, like people used to say, like someone said that you actually, the human body and the humans, they live how they believe they are. So if they say I have road rage, they're gonna live that way. If you just say I don't have road rage, or I like another one, I'm not a smoker. Just be like, some people like, I smoke. Like that's just what I do. I'm a smoker. Well, you have that identity. You bought and sold that identity to yourself, and that's you, and you believe it. But you could just be like, hey, I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke. It's disgusting. Even if you're still smoking, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm smoking this one, but I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke. And you just say that to yourself. Now that's your identity. That's what I did
Yeah.
to myself. All these mind fucks I do to myself as well. Like I've done these things. I told myself I'm healthy. I'm a really healthy guy. Even when I just started my health journey, I'm just like, I'm a healthy person. I don't go to bars. I don't drink. I'm a healthy person. I go to the gym, and I was going to bars and just starting going to the gym because I was making this new identity for myself. And then you believe it, and then you act out that through your life because you believe it. Now this is my new identity. I'm a gym guy. Like this is who I am. I used to be Cash Money Gula, and now I'm SoCal Gula that talks about health more than money. Because why? Because this is who I am now. And
Yeah.
it's just like you live that life of your identity, of what you sell yourself and buy yourself. So change your identity. It's not like the end of the world. And most people will think at first, like, what are you doing? Who are you? If you're worried about other people. But eventually they just get used to it and they totally forget. They're just like, oh yeah, that's how you used to be, but this is who you are now. That like people will just they believe what you are by what you believe you are. If you say you're this and I'm a gym guy, I don't go to the bars, but I'm going to the bars, no one's going to believe that. But if I tell myself it enough and I actually do change, my mind will change it and I'll start doing those actions. People will just be like, oh, he's a gym guy now. Like, you don't go to bars.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. Like, you have to do the original thing in your head first, though.
Yeah, exactly. I think part of it too, why we tell us, like, for the like smoking, for example, I think part of the reason why you tell yourself that, like, oh, I'm a smoker, is it's almost like a cop out, because you either want to change or you don't. Like, that's kind of like when I first started doing my fitness journey, that's kind of the way I saw it. I'm like, you either want the results or you don't want the results. Like, which one is it? You can't have the
Mm-hmm.
excuses and you can't have the results. You
Yeah.
can't eat like shit and neglect your diet and not work out and have a healthy, fulfilling life if you're neglecting this other side. So it's not really hard when you want it bad enough. Like, well, maybe it is
Yes.
difficult, but you're willing to overcome the adversity to get to the goal. But if you're always like, oh, I can't do it, or I'm just a fat person, I can't control my urges,
Yeah.
too lazy, I'm too busy, I'm too this, I'm too that. Like you're always, if you always allow those excuses to dictate your life, then you're gonna have this life over here. But if you can overcome that and start doing different things, start exercising, start eating better, and start building these good habits, then you could kind of elevate to this other side. And it all starts, like you said, with your mind, your perspective, your belief, especially like the belief you have about yourself. You got to change that system inside your brain if they're not
Yeah.
benefiting you, if they're no longer serving you.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. You either have results or you have excuses. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, pick one.
Pick one because so many people have excuses. Like a lot of like you hear a lot of fat people always say, "Oh, what's my genetics?" It's like that is probably like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm just big boned" or something like that. I don't know, but there is like a lot of that going on, which it might be some of your genetics. But have you tried eating a 2,000 calorie diet, eating chicken, eating broccoli, eating a healthy eating a healthy? When's the last time you had a salad? Like, have you done it consistently for a month or 2 months? And like you said, it gets easier. It definitely gets easier over time, but it's still a chore to just eat good because I want to go to Olive Garden, but no, I'm gonna go to the grocery store and I'm gonna buy me some nice chicken that's doesn't have GMOs in it, doesn't have any salt in it. I'm gonna take it home. I'm gonna cook it nicely with no salt added and all this stuff in my own personal diet, and put some broccoli in there. Eat a lot of broccoli. Eat a fruit with it after I'm done to get like a little sugar high, and that's what I'm gonna eat. And I'm gonna do that for every day for 6 months. Maybe I'll switch it up, get some salmon, get some steak or whatever. But I'm not going to go to Olive Garden. I'm not going to eat cupcakes. But it gets easier after a while. But definitely in the beginning, it is a very big struggle. We talked about that last one. Like you have to might just do one meal per day or just slowly get into it. But it all starts in the mind. You have to want to do it. You have to want results. And yes, it might be genetics. Yes, it might be big boned. But have you ever even tried to live a healthy lifestyle? Or are you just letting that excuse be your result? Like, okay, I'm just that, and this is what I'm going to be. But you could, it has to start in the mind. You have to tell yourself, like, no, I'm going to lose weight even though I'm big bone. I'm going to lose weight even though I'm have bad genetics. I'm going to lose the weight and be healthy even though I have high blood pressure right now. It's going to go away. I'm going to win this. I'm going to win, and that's all there is to it. And then you start from there.
Yeah, exactly. And like we were talking about, like you're always gonna have, it's always gonna be hard and it's always gonna be challenged. The excuses are always gonna be there for you. So like even today at work, they had like I don't know if it was someone's like going away party for one of the employees, but
Mhm.
they had all these muffins and
Oh man.
donuts and cookies, all this on the
Yep.
table. And a lot of the other people I work with were just talking about like, oh man, I wanna eat a cookie so bad, but like, oh, I'm trying to do my diet. And I'm like, oh, it's like this is almost like it's the willpower table. It's
Yeah.
testing how much willpower you have. Like, are you gonna break? And I'm not saying a
The
cookie is gonna
test.
kill you, but it's
No.
a choice made repeatedly over and over and over again that is going to get you into trouble. Like if you have a cookie one day a week, like probably going to be fine. If you had a cookie,
Yeah.
maybe eating a small cookie every day, you're probably going to be fine. But if you start to build these habits around like I'm eating a whole half pack of cookies every day and then I'm going to the ice cream, like it's these small choices that you have to make and you have to keep making, make it positive choices day. And then another aspect is having the willpower to say no to the stuff you shouldn't be doing. That's another aspect to the mind game, is like avoiding the temptation. Like because sweets, they're good, they taste good, they're very tempting and
Yeah.
they're enjoyable to eat. So when you see it, it's like you have that battle inside yourself, like, do I want it? Like, how bad do I want it? Like,
Yeah.
you have that internal turmoil for a little bit, but eventually, by saying no enough, you get to the point where you're like, like I could do without it. It doesn't, like, you kind of start to kill the urge with every
Yeah.
choice. Like every time you say no to it, you're killing
To
that
win.
urge to do it. Yeah, and
Yep.
eventually, you get to the point where you don't even have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, because like Mary, my roommate again, she has a bunch of cupcakes right there on the counter, right where I cook
She's tempting you.
my healthy dinner. She had she had a birthday party for her kid a couple of weeks ago, and they don't really eat that much bad stuff, so they're just still there from the party. So she eats pretty well as well. Like she eats really good. But so I'm just sitting there and looking at them every day, and they just don't tempt me at all. I'm like, and I ain't gonna lie, like one time I did look at him and be like, I could probably just eat one right now. I'm like, then I'm thinking like, I know that I haven't ate sugar in over 2 months, that my taste buds aren't palatable to that anymore. It probably wouldn't even probably taste good. I probably like would be like, oh, what the hell is this? But after you eat one, it becomes palatable, and then you eat that next one, and then next thing you know, you're addicted again. And I would say
That's
like,
like your body goes into a frenzy.
yeah,
Oh, we have the sugar again.
it's
Let's
like,
have
oh, this
another
is what I
one.
wanted. Yeah. But yeah, and it's just crazy too, because people, like your mind again, will come up with excuses to eat that cupcake, to eat that cookie. Instead, if you're really willpower and you really have these goals like you have right now and I do, and like we're just going at it, like we're like fully focused in our health right now, like we got it dialed in. We see the cookie and we're just like, nah, fuck that. I ain't eating that cookie. Like there's nothing that's gonna get me to eat that cookie. I don't care about it. But sometimes it does creep in. Like I was just saying as an example, I went and did a 16-mile hike last weekend. You know, I knew I'm going to be burning 5 to 6,000 calories, right? So we get to the top, and at this hike, they have a, a store up on top, and they have muffins and all this stuff. And I said, "Oh, it probably wouldn't be that bad to eat a muffin, right?" And they said, "Oh, no, probably not." So when I get up there, I'm thinking like in my head, like I'm going to have a muffin, and then I was like literally out there, and I'm like, I'm going to eat a muffin. I'm like, I don't care. And then I thought about it, sitting there and thinking about it, just because I had more time. If it was a spur of the moment, like where the muffin was right there, but you had to stand in line and buy it, I would have probably just grabbed it and ate it, you know? But I
Yeah.
sat there and thought about it for a while, and I just started thinking about the sugar content in it. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. You know, I could have sugar inside of fruits because that's fine, because it kind of balances out with all the good stuff it has in there. But I'm like, I can't have this processed muffin right now, even though I know it's probably not that bad. If I just add that one, and I knew I was going to go eat a, pretty good dinner later on. So I was like, no, I'm just going to wait. And then Shanda, our hiking partner, was like, all right, hey, what do you want a muffin? I'll get it for you. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't want it anymore. And I already had food with me. So I ate the banana, which is obviously not as good as a muffin, but I had the banana. So I got a little sugar high off of that and had my chicken and rice. And I just didn't care about it anymore. I just passed it in my mind. But it was like, I was so tempted at that moment. And I think I would have been a lot of disappointed in myself, even though it's only one muffin. I'm not ready in the moment of my progress to have that. Like, I don't think my mind is there. Just like when an alcoholic, like you don't go, you got to treat it like you're an alcoholic. You can't go hang around people that are drinking at a bar. You're going to have one drink, and next thing you know, you're at the bar every day again. And that's how I felt at this time. I'm like, I don't have that anymore because I haven't been drinking as for years. Or like, and now I could just be around drunk people. It doesn't bother me. I'm not drinking, but I don't think I'm there with the food yet. And it's the mind thing, because I'm still worried about, oh man, if I eat this, will it get in my mind, and will I eat another one, and then I'm screwed, and then I have to worry about my blood pressure again, and my pre-diabetes. Like I don't want that to happen. So I didn't eat the muffin, which is
Yeah.
a good win right there.
Yeah, it's funny because I went to a show the last weekend. I think it was last weekend,
Mm,
and even then, like I haven't vaped for probably almost 3 months now.
yeah.
But when I was at the show, I'm like, this is like an environment where I would typically smoke. So I'm like, the fact that I was there, and I even told my fiance, I'm like, ooh, I was like, if I had one in my pocket, I'm like, I might actually hit it right now. I'm like, just
Well,
because I'm in this environment typically where I smoked. And that kind of just got me thinking, like, well, even though I'm not tempted every day, I'm like, if you put me in the right environment, I'm like, my temptation is
yes.
still there. So I'm like, I know I'm not fully out of the clear like I am
Nope.
with my alcohol sobriety, like
Yeah.
2.5 years sober from alcohol. So that like
How
I
long
have
have
no
you been on the
interest
vape? How
in.
long have you been off the vape?
It's probably been over almost 3 months, about 3 months.
Since August, right?
Yeah, I have the date in my
Yeah,
phone,
you sent it
but
to me earlier. I think it was eight. It was eight something, August.
yeah, that probably sounds good. Yeah,
Because
it's probably around your birthday.
the weed pen was 6, 2 months
Uh-huh.
before that. Yeah, so yeah, August. So it's been about a little over 2 months, maybe two
Yeah,
months
but
exactly.
yeah, it's funny that it's just so crazy that the tricks your mind plays on you. Like I could have went back, and that was the whole thing I was thinking about too. Because I started even having the thoughts like, man, maybe I should hit up. There's a vape store everywhere. Like maybe I should hit up a store on the way home. And I'm like,
Well,
no, you survived the show without it. And I'm like, you know yourself, Steven. I'm like, if you go to the store and you buy one just for the night, you're gonna be back to smoking it every day. I'm like, you know this. You've done this so many times. Like, don't allow yourself to go back. And ultimately, that's the idea that won. Like, no, like you know where this path ends up. You know it's not where you want to be. And then I tend to beat myself up over it. I already know if I would have got it and smoked it, I would just been kicking myself in the ass, like, oh, look at
Yes.
you. And then it's like that negative self-talk would kick in, like, oh, look at you. You think you have all this willpower and you don't, because look at this, you're weak over here. And then that potentially for me is like, I think I've told you before, like if I create a weak link in my chain, the whole link could start to unravel for me. And I don't know why it is like that for me, but I'm like, it could have started with that, the vape be one thing. And then, next thing, maybe I'm smoking weed again. And then I'm not working out every day like I should be. And like, I'm not eating good. Like everything has the potential to fall
Yeah.
apart in my book. So I'm like, no, don't do it. You're on the good path. You've been disciplined. You've been doing everything right. Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, so you're either all in or you're all out. Like you're in the boat
Yeah.
or you're stepping out and you're falling down and you're sinking down to the bottom. Like
I don't know
it's
why I'm
crazy.
like that.
No, but it is like that. Like I did the same thing not too long ago before I got, because I've been on my health, off my health, on my health, on on and off, and it
Yeah.
just annoys me sometimes because I'm like, why can't I just stick to it for a very very long time, a year, 2 years, like 3 years, 4 years, like make it a lifestyle. Like this is the way I live now. Because there's some people that never smoked before in their life. Like how do they do it? I don't know. Like how did you never smoke? How did you never drink? There's people that have never done it and they just never did it. And but
That's
us, so they
crazy.
never had to worry about that. But like it's an addiction, and addictions are crazy. Like people might see us and might say like, oh, like you're doing really well, like you look great. And then me too, like, oh, Aaron's doing really good. I see all his posts that he's posting, he's doing good. But in the end, we all still fight these mental battles. And especially if you've been addicted to something, like I always said, mine is, I've been addicted to many things, but sugar was like my recent one that I could not get off of like crazy. And you were with the vape, and I'm like telling you, I was like, I'm proud of, first of all, I say proud of you because I really wanted you to get off the vape.
Thank
Like,
you. Thank
even
you.
then when you stopped the weed pen, I was trying to get you off the weed pen because I was even doing weed here and there, but I was eating edibles. I told you, like, eat the edibles,
Yeah.
is better for your lungs, because I'm worried about my lungs and my heart. And that's what's like probably one of my things that I'm really passionate about, I guess, because I had it, like my dad died of it, and I have high blood pressure now, and I don't want to end the same boat. And I'm like, I seen you smoking. I'm like, dude, I don't want you to get cancer. I don't want like my best friend to get cancer or get heart disease either. So I'm like, try eating the edibles, even though it's probably, I don't know the science behind it, but it's probably still not as good, but it's better for your lungs. And then you're just like, and
Yeah.
you're like telling me, you're like, oh, I quit the weed pen. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I was like, are you still vaping? You're like, yeah. And it took you 2 months to get off that.
Yeah, that was
And
my excuse. Like, well, if I'm gonna give up this one thing, I still want the feeling of smoking, so I'm gonna smoke for a little bit more. And I did that for as long as I did, and now I stopped again. I've been too good. Can't go back to the old ways.
yeah, and definitely one hit, like, and then like you're saying, the environment, like environments definitely do that to you until you have a total control over it, like you do alcohol now, and I do with alcohol. Like we used to both be addicted to alcohol like a motherfucker,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
now it's like me and you could literally go anywhere where anybody's drinking, and we're just like, nope. And then now we also got each other too, like, but like you go to a lot of places I don't, and I go to a lot of places
Yeah.
you don't, and we're still not doing it. It's just like we got a hold on that. But then there's some other ones
Yeah.
that we didn't have a hold on, like smoking or sugar and eating. Like those we didn't have a, and I still don't think, obviously we still don't, but we know through experience, like we said, through experience, we know what happens when we go back to it. And we also know that we can conquer things because we conquered the alcohol. We conquered other things, So we know we can conquer things in things that we were severely addicted to. But can we conquer these other ones? Are we still out of it? And I think a lot of it too has like, there's not as many repercussions for smoking the vape. You hit the vape, you're not having a hangover, so you don't get that repercussion, but you're still disappointed in yourself. And it's another mind thing. Your mind's like, well, I could hit it, I'm not gonna be hungover. But if you drink a
Yeah.
beer, if you drink and you went, then you're like, I'm going all night again, and I'm gonna be hungover, and I'm gonna feel like junk again. I don't want that. And like same
Yeah.
thing with me, like
Exactly.
with the sugar and stuff. Like I started feeling my body feeling really bad, and the salt, like eating processed foods. Like I started feeling really bad. And once I started feeling those repercussions, I'm like, okay, I need to stop this, because when I do it, I feel the repercussion. When I didn't feel no repercussions, I'm just like, oh, I could just do it. But people got to understand, when you're eating bad, eating processed foods, smoking or drinking or doing cocaine or anything like that, you might not feel the repercussions at first. You might not feel your body, because your body's very resilient. but you have to know these are all bad things, and they will lead, and they are going to lead to something bad that happens to you in your body, because your body can't fight it off forever. And eventually the substances are going to win and you're going to lose. And it's better to stop now. If you don't feel anything and you're feeling great, if you're young, stop now, because your body is going to be deteriorating. But if you're starting to feel something, that's even a better reason to stop. And then because you don't want to have the horrible thing of a stroke or a heart attack or something like that, you definitely don't want that, because once you get to that level, now you're really screwed and you definitely have to stop. Or the next thing is death. And sometimes you don't get the heart attack, you don't get the stroke, you just go straight to death. So it's like, you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and because the repercussions are there and they will happen, especially as you get older.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think too, for a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people, I think it takes getting that diagnosis to, things are looking really bad for you. This is how much more time you have to live if you continue down this path.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, I think it takes most people that in order to start to begin to change their lives. But maybe me and you, luckily, we've seen our parents, both of them died early. My dad was 53. I think your dad was in his 50s too, right?
66.
Oh, 66. All right.
Yeah.
So he lived a bit longer, but my dad was 53. And I think, they both could have probably lived a lot longer if they had made lifestyle choices. But since they did die, probably before their time, it probably put it on our radar. Like, if you live a poor life and you neglect your health and you don't do your nutrition, you don't exercise, like, this is where this path leads. So we could kind of see it firsthand what happens where, a lot of our friends in our friends group, they still have their parents. They're still here. Maybe some of them are sick. Maybe some of them are not. But, maybe that's the reason why too, is they just haven't seen it yet. They haven't had any experience with it. So yeah, it's like basically like you said, if you smoke long enough, eventually something bad's going to happen. Eventually you get to a point where your lungs are going out, or you have some sort of cancer, or we all know where the path ends, but why don't we change?
Yeah, the mind.
I should ponder that question.
Yeah, like you said, like one of your cousins said, like when we're younger in our 20s, like, oh, I'll just stop when we're 20s, like, oh, I'll just stop when I'm 25, or I'll stop when I'm 30. So you're thinking like, yes, in your head, you're smoking a cigarette, that the cigarette causes cancer and it will kill you. But you're thinking like, it's probably not going to happen till I'm later. So I'll just smoke for 5 more years. And then I'll stop when I'm 30. And then boom, now I'll be good because I'll start regenerating. But the thing is though, there's a thing called an addiction. You think that you're going to stop by 30, but these things are powerful, powerful things. Sugar, cocaine, alcohol, weed, like cigarettes, food, like processed food. These are highly addictive substances. And you think you're just going to quit after doing it for that long? Your body craves it now. Like your body's like, where is it? Like you wake up and you're like, where is that processed food? Where is that cigarette? And so don't ever think like, oh, I'm just going to stop in 5 years, because you might not, like you might have some huge health problem before that. Cancer could come, like, anything. And we know people that have died of, I know someone that died of cocaine overdose, of heroin overdose, like a couple people have died over heroin that I've known. And one of them died of pills. Like they went into rehab trying to stop because it's so addictive. They could not stop. They're trying to think like, how can I stop? How can I stop? I have to go to rehab. That's when you know that you have a problem, where you go to rehab and you're literally have to get away from everything. And then she came back outside and she did it again. Her body couldn't withstand it. Boom, died, and because her body was like, I'm not used to this anymore. You just had rehab for 30 days and you came back out in the environment again. Your brain automatically thinks like, oh, I'm in the environment again. It's going to be like last time. It's going to be fine. No, but your body already adjusted to having and not having it. You pop it again, you're dead. It's like, so anything can happen. Is like the best result is just quit now and just try to be healthy. That's never going to be bad for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's crazy too. I've actually had a friend, same thing, where he stopped for a X amount of time, went back to his old dose, and too much body couldn't take it and killed him. It was like, you make this last mistake he's ever made.
Yeah.
Sad
I'm glad
to say,
it never
but
came to like that to us.
Yeah, Thank goodness. That's why,
A
I
miracle.
think it was in the last podcast, I said that, my dad dying from alcoholism, that I could see myself if I didn't change where I was headed, that I would
Mm.
most likely end up in a similar position as him. Like, how would I not? Like on the weekends, I would
Yeah.
seriously drink like a fish. Like basically drink until the point where I felt like I was gonna throw up, and then I would ease off a little bit. Then, once I could fit a little bit more alcohol in my system, drink a little bit more, maybe feel like, "Ooh, all right, I might throw up a little bit," and then I don't. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna chill for a little bit, then have another drink later. It's like I would drink to that point almost every single time I drank, and I just knew eventually
Exorcist.
it's not gonna end good. Eventually, and now that I have my son, I had to think about him too. Like, I've had my time with alcohol. I've had my time with the partying. Like, it was fun while it lasted. I pretty much have probably done everything you could possibly think of under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah.
So now it's
Been there, done
time.
that.
Yeah, it's time to let it go and let it be something in the past, and to move forward, focus on my health, and try to build a better life for me and my family.
Yeah, it's like been there, done that. We've done it. Like, how many times do you need to do it? Like, well, I need to drunk because I need to get drunk because it's fun. Okay. When you're young or whatever, like, okay, that's fine. But how long are you gonna do it for? Are you gonna just do it forever? Like, okay, I want to eat because it's good. Well, how long are you gonna do it for? Till it kills you? Like my brother told me, my older brother told me one time, like, hey, just let you know, drinking will kill you. It's going to kill you if you don't stop. Like one day, especially how I drank, he knew how I drank, and it's gonna
Yeah,
kill
we were
you.
the same way. We would drink the
Yeah.
same way. We'd go super hard.
Yeah. And then it's crazy because like you're saying your kid helped you. Like I don't know this guy personally. I never met him, but he went to our school or something. He ended up dying of cirrhosis of the liver. And he was our age, like 38 or 37. And he had 3 kids. Like, why? How do you not stop when you have 3 kids? And they tell you, like, hey, you have a liver problem. And he starts drinking more because he's either depressed or just thinks like there's no hope. Like when you give up hope, it's all over. Like you have
Yeah.
to have hope. And that's just a mind thing too. If you don't have hope, like you're done, because now you're like, I have no hope. You're just going to keep drinking, but, and then he ended up dying, having 3 kids, turned to all yellow. Like who wants to, I heard that's one of the worst ways you could die of cirrhosis of the liver. Like you're sitting there suffering in a hospital bed for who knows how long. And then you just suffer until you die, you turn yellow and everything like that. It's insane. Like who wants to go through that? Like, I can't believe that, we never had something like that happen to us, but
Yeah,
we probably was on our way that on that heading down that path. But it's just
yeah.
crazy because even 3 kids or and a wife like didn't stop him. Like you would rather just be dead. Like what? Like how? People have issues in their heads and problems that they just can't get over, and substance abuse will lead to that, where you just don't stop and you would rather just die. It's like almost like a little form of suicide, a little bit.
Yeah, really. Or you just think that you can't change, even though you probably could if you really wanted to. I think, that situation, and probably, most situations are going to be very individualized where, I couldn't imagine myself getting to that point, but I can only speak from my own experience. Like I saw myself headed down a bad path, and I was able to kind of interject
Mhm.
and go through that process of changing all. It's basically a lifestyle change, because you have to
Definitely.
change so many different aspects
Hmm.
that it could be overwhelming, and
Yeah.
it is at times. But it's like, what was the alternative? Like, end up like my dad and dying at 53. I'm like, well, I definitely do not want that life. So what do I have to do
We
to
definitely don't.
not go down that path? And as hard as it was, we talked about battling your inner demons. You go to war with yourself, essentially, as like you're fighting an aspect of yourself, and you're trying to kill it by building a newer version of yourself that you can latch on to. Like, build this other guy up so you could let this part of you go.
Hmm.
And it does, I think it feels like, in a way, like you are killing part of yourself, because you have to. Like, that
Yeah.
old self can't go where you're going,
Hmm. Your
and a
identity.
piece of you, in a way, is dying. And it could very feel, could feel like a death in a way.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you might grieve a little bit. It might be
Mhm.
like a physical death, but it's part of the process. It's part of, the butterfly has to let go of the cocoon to become the butterfly. It can't just stay inside of its little bubble the whole time. It's got
Love that.
to get out to blossom. And, we're very
Yeah.
much the same way.
And like, I want to bring up too with that point. is I just finished listening to the David Goggins Never Finished but audiobook, which is really good about mindset. It basically just talks about his whole entire life, but it gives a lot of mindset kind of ideas in there. And he has two identities. He has David Goggins, and then he has that motherfucker Goggins. That's what he says. Yeah. He has that motherfucker Goggins. And Goggins is the guy that you don't want to be around. He's the guy that's going to tell you, hey, you're a little bitch. You need to go run. Like, why you eating that? Like, and all this other stuff, stop drinking. But David Goggins was the old guy, the fat guy. So it's like with that identity thing, like you have to get a new identity. Yes, David Goggins is dead, but Goggins is alive and well, and he's running. David Goggins is that fat motherfucker that was eating and wasn't doing anything and looked down and had his shoulders down and hunched over and felt sorry for himself. Goggins is obese, So you got to have a new identity, and it is kind of like a death of your old self. But it's a great death. It's one of the death that you could rejoice over. You want him dead. You want that last old person dead. Because this new person is alive. This one's filled with hope. And another thing about that, what he says about this mindset, or what I'm thinking about, is you got to think of situations like, has anyone ever done this before? Has there ever been a big boned fat person that got healthy before? Then that means you can. Has anyone ever beat pancreatic cancer? Yes, they have. So that means I can, like our friend Lance did, but it's just things like that. Has anyone ever lowered their blood pressure by healthy lifestyle? Of course, many people have. That means I know I can do it. And once you know that you can do it because other people have done it, then what's stopping you? The only thing that's stopping you is you and your own mind. And if you start it, like, you have two options: keep doing what you're doing, and you're definitely going to continue with the high blood pressure or the diabetes or the heart disease. These are the top three diseases in America because of stress, diet, and alcoholism and all this smoking and things like this. They're most likely going to happen to you if you don't change your lifestyle. But people have done it many times and reversed the effects, and you can do it too. It's very doable, and you can definitely do it.
Yeah, too. I think having alcohol just seems like, especially in today's modern time, like it just seems like it's so tolerated. I don't know if tolerated is the right word, but it's just so social. You see it everywhere. There's a liquor store on almost every corner. You do it for a celebration. You do it for sports. You do it just on the weekend. You have, your wine with the dinner. It's so acceptable. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's on every billboard, on every commercial.
Yeah, it's acceptable to do as society, and it's not really frowned upon. And I think that's why it's another reason why, you don't really, it's hard to stop too, because it's so accepted by society. You see it everywhere. Everyone does it. But if it was something like meth or something, and it had that stigma, and then people like, oh, look at that guy, he's drinking alcohol. Oh, what a loser. Like, we don't have that viewpoint towards it. But if we did, there'd be less drinkers. That's just how it is. It's like, it's a part of society. It's accepted. So most people don't think about it being a problem or leading into a problem because it's so well accepted as part of a society general.
Yeah, and with alcohol too, it's like, you got to think about it like this. Most people, if they didn't drink, if everyone you just stopped drinking, most people wouldn't even be friends with the people they're friends with at all, because they have nothing in common. They're just like, we just get drunk, and I can't dance unless I'm drunk. I don't have a good time at a concert unless I'm drunk. Well, think about this. When we were drunk, if you could imagine how we were, are we that great of people? We're together, but we're slurring our words. We're falling down. We're throwing up in the middle of a place, all these horrible things. I've done so many embarrassing things looking back at it. Is this who this is my fun? Is this really fun? No, it's just, you're totally masking what's happening, and you just think it's fun. But in reality, you're a slob. You're acting ridiculous. You're acting very stupid and sometimes nasty. And it's just kind of disgusting if you really think about just in our own situation, how we acted. Other people, they might be able to handle it different, but it's just funny because it's you're most likely, if everyone stopped drinking, what I was saying, most people wouldn't even be friends. They would have nothing in common. So it's they also are susceptible to go keep drinking, because if not, they would lose that friendship. They would be alone. They wouldn't have somebody to hang out with. Who would I hang out with? I've been with these people for 10, 20 years. And if I stop drinking and they do, I won't relate to them anything. And now I'll be alone. I'll be ousted. And people will say, like, what's wrong with you? You're not drinking. What's wrong with you? It's like, but I'm looking at it like, what's wrong with you? You're throwing up. You're like slurring your words. You can't walk straight. We have to carry you out. Like, there's something wrong with you, not me. They think that's something
Yeah.
wrong with you for not drinking. It's like, it's kind of insane. Like, you could still have fun without drinking, but obviously you're not being all wild and out and all crazy and stuff. But
Yeah.
you could still act like that if you wanted to, but it's just so much easier because you're just masking everything.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, I do not miss being like that. And it's funny too, because when I was younger, like, I probably had many conversations where it starts off like, "Oh man, do you remember last weekend? So fucked up. I don't remember anything." And it was
Yeah.
almost like we were like it was cool, or it was like, I don't know why we felt like that. Like it was
Oh
such a cool
man.
thing to get so drunk and not remember anything. Like, I don't remember anything, dude. I was so fucking drunk.
And then we're like trying to remind each other of bits by bits. Like, well, do you remember when you did this? And it's like, oh yeah, I do remember that. And it's
Oh,
like, so
shit.
you're literally killing yourself and you don't even remember.
You
Like I
don't
used to
even get to remember the good times. Come
I'm
on
like, I
now.
don't remember like 18. I always used to say, I don't remember the first 20 years of my life after high school or 15 years, something, because I was drunk the whole time. It's
Yeah,
like
I
the
think
only
we
way
used
you
to
can really
joke about
remember is
that.
if you look at a picture.
Yeah, and some of those pictures are like, oh shit, where was I? I don't remember that. And then someone has to jog your memory, like, oh, this was then, this is what we were doing that night, and this is after, or whatever. And you're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that point now.
Oh
It's
man.
funny. For me, I used to drink. At least part of why I used to drink was it made me more social. It made me just
Yeah.
crazy if I wanted to say something to anybody. If I was drunk, I wouldn't care. I'd go up to a random stranger and just start talking with them. Like that's
Yeah.
the kind of drunk I was. I was friendly for the most part, but very talkative. And when I stopped drinking, I had to learn how to be social without it, and that
Yes, me
took
too.
some time. And it was honestly, it was weird. It was like I would have to
Definitely.
to because when I first started showing back up to these events, I would just kind of be there and I would just be by myself and kind of keep to myself, and
Mhm.
I'd say hello and small talk here and there. But a lot of it was just me with my own thoughts. And I'm
Yeah.
like, eventually I got to the point where like you have to practice talking to other people again. Like you have to
Yep.
learn how to be social without the alcohol because you depended on it for, the last 20 years. And now that it's not there, you got to figure out how to do it without it, like, and it's a learning process.
It
And
definitely is.
just like slowly learning how to stop, you got to slowly learn how to be more social, get out of your bubble a little bit and just talk more. For me, everyone's going to have their own issues with it, but that was part of mine, was being social. And
Yeah.
I had to learn how to do it
Yeah,
sober.
it could just go with easy, like, to practice for people out there to like practice, like, if you stop drinking, like, it's as easy as just like when you go and buy something at Target, when you're like ordering from the girl or the person, just say like, hey, how you doing? And just see what they say. And you'd be like, comment them like, how the weather outside. Just think of a few basic questions and just talk to them like that. How's it going? How's the weather outside? Or like, oh, I like your hair. That looks good. Oh, that's a nice shirt. And they'll be like, oh, thank you. And then you can tell there it becomes more than just a transaction. Now it becomes an actual like interaction, and you can interact
Mhm.
with somebody like that just in a little bit, and then you get better and better at it. And then same thing like at an event or party, just go up to somebody and just be, they're there to have be social as well. Other people, they're not there to not be social. They might have
Yeah.
social anxiety as well. So you got to think they might have social anxiety as well. A lot of people do. A lot of not very many people are very outgoing and talking to people. That's why you get into these situations, because it's more comfortable. And then just go up and just start asking them stupid questions and let them talk, listen more, and then kind of just feed off of what they're saying. And that could be a
Yeah.
good way to do it, because I had to learn it too. But also when you're like starting to get practice and get better at that, also with your health as well, when you start getting better at that, you start becoming more confident. And like, because when you first stop drinking, you're that person, and now you're someone that doesn't drink. You're in this mixed place where you're not quite sure where you're at and who you are. Well, and it could become lonely at sometimes too as well, and because you're like,
Yeah.
nobody understands me because I'm doing it by myself. But eventually, you become better person by, and you start feeling more confident because of your actions of eating better, going to the gym and doing all that stuff. You start looking better, start feeling better, and you become more confident. And then you could go to talk to people, because just keep your shoulders back, keep your heads up, make that eye contact, And don't be all weird about it. Don't just sit there and stare at them in the eyes, but like you could look away here and there, kind of move your head around, like move your hands or whatever, and talk to somebody, and then you just get better and better. And like eventually you become a beast mode at it. And then it's just normal. Now you could go to places where people are drinking and you're having fun, and you could have fun without drinking, but because you know how to talk to people, you have that confidence, and you build up those skills. Now it's just a skill, like just anything else.
Yep, it's the confidence stacking. After a while of constantly stacking, you just get to a point where, at first you might have to think about it and it might be uncomfortable and you're probably not going to be that good. Eventually you get to the point where you are good and you don't have to think about it. It's, basically second nature, like driving a car. Eventually you do it so often enough that you become beast mode, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's like everything's learnable. Just got to know that you can do it and it's learnable. And like, yeah, sometimes it might be awkward. You might have some little awkward silences, and then that's when you just kind of like all right, well, I'm gonna go chill over here and go to someone else and try it again, or something. Like just practice. Just same thing with like if you're a guy talking to girls, like you want to talk to more girls, well, just go up to one and say hi. You don't have to be like, hey, like you're not going in bed with them that day. Don't go with that. You're not marrying them that day. Just go and say something to some random girl. Like if you're at let's say Chick-fil-A or something, go in there and you see a girl standing in line, just be like, oh, hey, I like your shoes. Those are really cool. That's it. Boom, you're done. Like it's just like, I'm not going in for the kill. I'm not going in to marry this girl. I'm just going in to try to get an interaction so I could confidence stack and build that interaction and learn and just see what they say. They're not going to go say, fuck off, leave me alone. They're going to be, oh, thank you. And that's it.
You never know. I don't know, man.
They could.
Some people might.
Yeah, they might, but it depends on how creepy and weird you are with it as well. Like I think a lot of people and girls could also see that confidence in you as well. So if you don't have that confidence, they might be like, what is this weirdo doing? It might give you a weird look. Most girls aren't that too confrontational unless they have to be.
Yeah, I think probably part of it too, even if you did get a negative reaction, is to basically not take it personal. I've always kind of saw it at the viewpoint. People kind of treat you with kind of the level of their own consciousness and not to take things personal, because if somebody's having a bad day, that might make them act or say something they wouldn't normally do, or maybe they're dealing with the death in the family and they're stressed out. So when people come at you sideways, typically, at least for me, I'm like, well, that person's probably going through something, and I just don't take it personal. I'm like, even oh, I'm getting a call.
And you took it? So Steven took a call right now, and he's out of the podcast, so we'll just take a little momentary break here.
There we go.
What'd you press? Did you answer the call?
No, I hit it. Then it started talking about something on Zoom. I was all tilting my head to try to read it, and then it just looked like it got dropped. Oh, well, we're back. Sorry about the interruption, everyone.
What time do you have to go pick up your son today?
What time is it?
3:25.
3:25. Should probably be ending it somewhat close anyways.
Well, finish your thought. What do you remember what you were saying?
I don't even know what I was saying.
We just talked about so much. Yeah, so
yeah, I can't remember exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, so here we go.
Damn it.
Gone. Huh?
Next time we start this, I'm just gonna have to put my thing on do not disturb, so none of these
calls
get through. Yeah, my bad. Well,
you're recording from your phone this time as well.
Yeah, so I usually use my laptop, so a little bit different this time. So it is what it is.
Well, it looks good.
Thank you.
But yeah, so we're talking about pretty much just like how the mind can just go. It's crazy. Like the mind leads to so many different places, and it could lead to addiction, and like why you do things like that. Why are we addicted? Like the mind is a powerful thing. It's insane what the mind can do. Like it could
definitely,
it could change your life in powerful ways. The power of belief, the power of hope, the power of knowing. All these powers are great and that you could use to better your life. But also you got the power of deceit, and your mind can deceive you. Your mind can play tricks on you, and it could go both ways, and it could take you into dark places as well.
Yep, you got to be aware of that negative self-talk. And it's very easy. I feel like a lot of it for most people, even some of it, for me, is very subconscious. It's like you're talking to yourself and you're telling yourself these like limiting beliefs or just straight negative stuff that you're not good or you're fat, you're ugly. Like a lot of people I think tend to talk about themselves in very bad ways. So at first you might just start having to learn how to kind of reprogram your brain and start to say good things about yourself and start to notice good things
Mhm.
like my
Yep.
thing is I like to try to start my day off by just saying, being grateful that I even woke up today. I'm thankful I got another day on this planet. I got another day with my family, my friends. I got a roof over my head. I have a job to go to. Just basically try to be as thankful as I can for as many different things as I can and just keep it simple. Be thankful you got food on the table, if you got shelter, if you get a car, and like the simple things be thankful for.
Thankful that you know
And
how to
I,
walk. Some people are
yeah,
in a wheelchair. Yeah.
yeah, and I think by being thankful for those little things, it just makes you more thankful in general. It makes you a more positive individual, and it helps you to focus on the good and instead of on the bad and the lack, the things that you're lacking. Because that's another area that I feel is very easy to get lost in. Like, oh, I don't have enough money. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have the car that I want. I don't have the house that I want. It's very easy to get trapped in that state of mind where you're just thinking about all the stuff that you want and all the stuff that you don't have and let it kind of rule your world to a certain degree. When in reality, everything's probably good for the most part. Like I said, if you have a roof over your head, you got a job, you got a car, just the simple things. If you got all those, like your health, it's a big one.
It's a huge
Your
one.
legs, if you could walk, if you could breathe, you could drink, if you're not stuck to a bed, like those are all things to be thankful
You
for.
don't have
And
cancer. You don't have heart disease. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's so easy to take all these things for granted because we assume that every day is going to be like the next. Like, I think, we had a conversation where the guy was like, oh, I was having an argument with my wife. And then I was like, well, I'll just talk to her about it when we get home. And the guy was like, who told you that? And he's like, who told me what? Like, who told you you're going to make it home? And he's like, I see where you're going with this. And it's like, we
Yeah.
all assume when we leave for work that we're going to make it home, but we don't know. It's like things could change in a blink of an eye. And we just,
Yep.
so easy to take life for granted. So I try to do as much as I can and be present enough and aware enough to try to enjoy as much of this life as I can and try to not focus on the things that I don't have. Of course, have some goals and things that you want to work towards, but try not to obsess over them to the point where it's stressing you out or making you feel like you're not enough, because ultimately in the long run that kind of thinking isn't going to help you.
Yep. And I was like, I seen a meme, a couple things I just seen from that. What you just said. I seen a meme and it says, you don't talk to other people like that. You don't say you're ugly, you're worthless, you suck, you're fat. Why do you talk to yourself like that? You don't talk to anyone
Yeah.
else like that, but you talk to yourself like that. Don't talk to yourself like that.
Hmm.
Even you might tell your brother or something like your family member that kind of stuff, but you usually most people don't go tell people randomly stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then with the like, you never know when you're gonna die thing. Like I actually was watching Blackbird on Apple TV, and the guy they were in prison, and he was gonna basically take a hit on this guy, and he just like he didn't know when, and he just told him he's like, hey, he told him a story. He was just like, yeah, I had a good friend, and he ended up getting the pancreatic cancer. They told him he had 4 months to live. Then a couple days later, he was walking up the stairs, fell, hit his head, and started bleeding out. And the last thing he said is, "You just never fucking know, do you?" Like you just don't know when it's gonna happen. Like they said that you're gonna
It's
die.
true.
You think you're gonna live forever? Well, you're gonna die in 4 months, and then he dies a few days later of something completely different. It's so you never know when it's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why you just got to appreciate life, man. Don't, that's like I was just saying, it's very easy to take it for granted. But too, I think having, someone close to you pass kind of makes you look at life a different way from that point on. Like my parent or my dad, well, both my parents passed, but my dad, I felt like hurt a lot more than when my mom passed. So when he passed, it kind of forced me to look at life in a different way.
Mm.
And, probably from that point on, I was probably never the same person. And I think death has always kind of been on my radar. It's always been part of my consciousness. Like, why is it the way that we are? Like, how long do we have? Like all these
Yeah.
existential crisis type questions, just like the to the bare minimum, like what is life about? Why are we here? What are we doing? What's it all about? Kind of has a lot of those questions, but
And the thing is too,
yeah,
it's like everybody dies of, it's like not everybody, lots of people have died of alcoholism, but you're obviously going to be more affected with somebody like that you're really close to. 50% of your DNA is your dad. And so
yeah,
it's like part of you. And also he was around a lot more every single day. You lived with him every day. So it was that emotional connection as well. So you got the 50% of DNA is part of you, and also that emotional connection. So when something like that happens to someone like that, it affects you as personally, instead of like, because yeah, you could, because now you're thinking about alcoholism for years and years and years to come. And that happened almost 20 years ago, and you're still
yeah,
thinking about it. But how many people died of so many other things, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, heart disease,
yeah.
but you're not thinking about those ones because this one affects you personally. And like you're
Yeah,
saying, a lot of
exactly.
people might even think in their mind, they make excuses. Their dad might die of cancer from smoking at 80. And they're just thinking, well, he was old. It's not because
Yeah,
he smoked. Well, if he didn't smoke, he could have lived 2 more years. 1 more year is great. 5 more years, 85. Like, it's like this had a contributing factor to him dying at 80, even if it's 80. He could live to 100. People lived to 100. So they just think, well,
yeah.
he's old. So they continue to smoke because like yours happened so young. Your dad was 53. That's a young age to die. You were
Hmm.
20 or something. So
Yeah,
this is more like, okay, if you're drinking, you're going to die at 53. So now you're here at 40 thinking that's 13 years. But if he died at 80, and then you're like, oh, that's 40 years. Like it's kind of another thing again. Oh, I'll just stop in 5 years because he
yeah,
died when I'm 80. I'm going to die when he's 80. I'm going to die when I'm 80. And so it's like kind of a blessing in disguise because no one wants to lose their parents. But
yeah.
it is what it is. And it obviously affected you and changed everything about your life, even though it took you a long time because you still were coping with the death in the same
Hmm.
ways, that the same thing that killed him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if I really have an answer, but I'm like, why did it take so long for me to kind of wake up to this? 20 years
I
later,
think
it
it has
took
to do
me
with
to
addiction,
stop.
the
But yeah,
addiction part.
and I think too, he passed at a time where I was already kind of partying and drinking. So it
Yeah.
was like, I just kind of got lost even more in the alcohol. It was like,
Uh-huh.
maybe I used it, at the time as a way to kind of get through it and to process everything, even though it's probably not the healthiest ways of doing things. It was just kind of the way it happened and the lifestyle I had at the time. But yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
was
like a
definitely
crutch.
weird having someone, especially because I saw him every day.
Yeah.
When you see someone every day and you're used to seeing them, on the weekends, when you get home from school, yada, yada,
Yeah.
yada. When they're not there, it's like, it's just weird. It's quiet. The house was quiet. Everything,
You were
everything
living in
just,
that house by yourself. Oh, with
yeah, I
Mikey too,
think,
your
yeah, I
nephew.
think my sister was there at the time, but it was just, obviously it's different just because all that life that that person contributed to just
Yeah.
by being there there's an absence there. And
Yeah, you're not hearing,
I,
you better clean your room, boy. You're
yeah,
not
and I
hearing that
think
anymore.
honestly, we ended up selling that house shortly after he passed, and I think that just my sister she couldn't be there. It was too weird,
Yeah,
brought too many
definitely.
memories, so we weren't in that house too much longer after he passed, and we
That's
moved to a
understandable.
different area in Fontana.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I dealt with it the best way I knew how. And being a young kid who didn't know much and didn't have too much experience in life, I was 20 years old. At that time, I thought I knew it all, but 20 years later, I realized I didn't know everything.
Yep. Yeah, same with me.
So,
Like it made me sociable. Alcohol made me sociable. It helped me with the girls and stuff. I could get laid easier and stuff like that. But so I was just thinking, like, I'm 20 something. I'm like, oh, this helps me get laid easier. I'm partying with these girls. I get to play with the girls and stuff, have fun. And then all of a sudden you're 32 and you're like, wait, this is a problem. I'm an alcoholic. Like, I can't stop. Like, what is wrong with, like, I cannot stop doing this. What is wrong with me? Like, I have a huge problem.
like,
And
I'm
I'm not
dependent on
playing with
this
the girls
chemical.
anymore. They're like disgusted by me now. They're doing other things. Like, what's going on here? And then so it's like self-reflecting. And then like I said in the other podcast, my nieces showed me so much love at like 6 years old and 3 years old when I went to Florida. And I was just like, okay, this is what I'm going to change for. I'm going to change so my family doesn't think I'm a piece of shit. It's not about playing with the girls or having fun anymore. It's about doing what's right. And it took years after that to completely stop. And now I'm finally here. So it's like awesome feeling. I feel great. And I just continue to try to get better every day and just hope that, like you said earlier, hopefully we don't have no long-term damage, which we probably have some, but the body's resilient and it could definitely
Yeah.
heal itself. And I'm just hoping for the best, just hoping nothing happens. As Taking Back
Yeah.
Sunday says.
That lyric. Yeah. It's funny. I saw a video of a guy recently. He was just talking about that he was trying to stop drinking and that he couldn't. Like that he was having troubles with it. He's like, I cut back quite a bit, but he's like, I still can't get completely away from it. And I commented on his video, just basically saying like it's a process, man. Don't expect to be able to change in a day because
Yeah.
especially like us, we had a lifestyle, 20 years of drinking. It's not gonna be able to, you're not gonna be able to turn it off in like a switch. It's gonna be a process of you basically have to tear yourself down, break that version of yourself, chop it up into little pieces. Kind of like where I was saying earlier, where you have to let that piece of you die, and it's a painful experience. It's not really pleasant, but it's necessary if you want to get to the other side. So, kind of, I guess, if I could give any advice, if you're going through that struggle, is just keep going. If you slip up here and there, just get back on the horse. Don't beat yourself up too much. Take it as a learning lesson. If you went for a week and then you had your relapse or whatever it is, like try to get back on the horse and see if you go for a week and a half the next time, and then 2 weeks, and then a month, and then eventually you'll get to the point where you're like, why am I even doing this back and forth shit? Like I should
Yeah.
just stop. Like why? You'll get to a point eventually where you do win. You just have to keep going and persevere and not give up, and freaking don't give up on yourself. That's what you're fighting for yourself. Do it for you. Do
Yeah.
it for a better life that you're capable of having, just as long as you stick it out and put in the work and battle those demons.
Yeah. And like I say, like a lot of it has to do with habit. A lot of it has to do with addiction and like just comfortable and environment. You gotta think about all these things, but it all starts in the mind. You have to have something that you want to do it for. Like do it for yourself. Do it for you can live a long time. Don't be like, I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for myself so I can live a long time. And then my kids are gonna have me as well, but do it for your kids if you need to. Like I did it for my nieces and my family and I did it for myself mainly because I want to live a long time. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing this for me. Like, and then at the end of the day, and it makes you feel better. It's a lot better life. You feel better,
Yep.
but think of it mentally, and then think about what you need to do. Positively reinforce yourself. Try to change your identity. Say, I'm not a drinker anymore. The identity, then try to change your environment and try to change the people that are around you. If they're bad for you, if they support you, they're not going to sit there and ask you for a drink. They're not going to sit there and drink around you. Like, hey, we're going out to the bar tonight, but you're not coming. You're not coming, motherfucker. Why? Because I care about you. I love you. And I know what you're trying to do. And I'm not going to put you in that. And until
Yeah.
you're strong enough, till I know you're strong enough to be able to handle it, and because some people are casual drinkers, they could drink one or two, some people can't, and they're like us. And the people that are just like, here, let's have a drink. What are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? Get rid of those people. Those people aren't for you anymore. You're not a drinker anymore. That's your new identity. And eventually you're going to meet other people. Like you're going to meet people that's going to have a transition period. You might be lonely for a little bit, but you might meet new friends that are going to the gym and they're like, they don't drink. And they're just like, hey, like you're coming to the gym with me. Like, let's go hang out. I need somebody to hang out with. There's plenty of people that are just like you that need other people that want to hang out and want to socialize and have somebody to relate to as well, that are doing positive health things, that are going on hikes, that are going to the gym, that are running marathons or anything like that. So or maybe taking jujitsu or something like that. Just find something healthy that can get you out of the current environment and situation that you're in. And these are really good tips on helping you just persevere and getting out of your addiction.
Yeah, I know they say too, like find a strong why. There's a quote, if your why is big enough, the how is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
When you want
Yeah.
something and your why is big enough, you won't ask yourself like, how am I gonna get it? It won't matter. It's like if you're a parent or something, think about like what would you do in order to save your kid's life? Like you would do anything. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
to think about it. Well, let me think about it. You would tear a tiger's throat out of its freaking body
Yeah.
if that meant you're gonna save your child, or you would die trying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once you have that why, the how is irrelevant. You're not going to worry about how you do. You're just going to do it. You'll figure it out. So
Yep.
find a why and kind of attach yourself to that and use that as an anchor to kind of pull you. Because it's going to be
Yes.
hard. It's going to be a tough
Yeah.
battle, and you might even question yourself from time to time. But yeah, stick to it. Find your why and keep at it.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna probably end it there, but just remember, the toughest battles is fought within, no doubt. That's the toughest battle out of all of them. There's so
Yeah.
many things that we could battle. But
Yep.
I think you need to get it to your exercise thing and
Boop, boop. Yep.
then go pick up the sun. And then I don't know, maybe I'll check my blood pressure. I haven't done it in 2 weeks. I gotta calm down and think about it in my mind.
Relax,
The mind is
relax.
crazy. Just I don't want it to be hypertension 3 or something. And then I'd be like, oh man, it's not working. Nothing I'm doing is working. But
Like I was saying earlier too, is like you've been doing good for a little bit. I'm like, don't it, even if it hasn't changed by much, like you have years and years of building the bad habit. It might take some time to get it into the other side. So
that's crazy. Just by bringing it up kind of makes me a little nervous thinking about it. Just like, I'm going to check it. I'm like, oh man, like,
I'm already
the hormones
nervous.
are going. So it's just crazy how the body and the mind works, guys.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
anyhow, that's the end of number 6. We'll see you number 7.
Sorry for the
And-
interruption in the middle. We'll fix
Yeah,
that
well,
next time.
You'll have to cut it out. All right, guys.
Edit.
Until next time, health over everything. Get it done.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for the next one.